Brother claimed he wrote my thesis. Professor had all my drafts with timestamps, and he looked foolish. My brother's voice is too loud for the quiet hallway outside the seminar room, and it bounces off the framed faculty photos like it's trying to make itself permanent. Ask her to show your notes, he says, pointing at me like I'm a kid caught cheating, not a woman standing here in a blazer with my defense slides loaded and my entire stomach clenched into a hard, nauseous knot. He doesn't even look at my face. He looks at the closed door where my committee is waiting, like he's trying to force it open with accusation alone. Because I wrote it. I wrote the whole thing. My hands go cold around the clicker. I can hear my own breathing, shallow and unhelpful. My mouth opens, but nothing comes out at first, because my brain is doing that thing where it tries to find the fastest way to rewind time. My supervisor, Dr. Qley, is standing half a step behind me, and I feel her shift, just a small movement, but it's enough to tell me she's already deciding how to handle this without turning it into a spectacle. Except Dylan is already a spectacle. He's flushed, eyes bright, shoulders up near his ears, like he's been carrying this moment around in his chest and finally found the right place to drop it. What did you just say? I manage, and my voice sounds thin to me, like it belongs to someone else. Dylan swings his head toward me, finally, and his smile is weirdly triumphant, like he's relieved. You heard me, he says. I wrote it. She's been using my work and pretending it's hers. You can check. Ask her about the methodology section. Ask her about the model selection. She won't even know what she wrote. His eyes cut to Dr. Qley like she's the judge, and he's handing her a key piece of evidence. I didn't want to say anything, but I'm not going to let her take credit for my work. Not again. Dr. Qley's expression doesn't change much, which is somehow worse, because it leaves all the emotion floating in the air between us. She looks at Dylan the way you look at someone who has wandered into the wrong room and is speaking with absolute confidence anyway. Dylan, she says calm, this isn't the time or place. It is, he snaps, and his voice cracks on the word. This is literally the moment she gets handed a degree for something I did. He jabs a thumb at his own chest. Me. I did it. Behind a closed door, I can hear muffled movement, chairs shifting, a low voice. The defense is supposed to start in 5 minutes. My mouth tastes metallic. I'm aware of my hair suddenly, how it sits behind my ears, how my necklace is crooked, and then I'm aware of how ridiculous it is that part of my brain is noticing my necklace while my brother is trying to set my last 2 years on fire. I turn to Dr. Qley because I don't know where else to put my eyes. I start, and it comes out too fast. I wrote it. He didn't write anything. He hasn't read. Dylan laughs, sharp. Sure. Dr. Qley lifts a hand slightly, not at me, at the air like she's asking both of us to stop making it worse. Okay, she says. We're not doing this in the hallway. Then she looks at Dylan again. If you're making a claim of academic misconduct, there are procedures. But you're also making it publicly, minutes before a scheduled defense. So here's what's going to happen. You can come with me to my office right now, and you can explain exactly what you mean. And then we're going to look at evidence. Not feelings. Evidence. Dylan's nostrils flare. For a second, I think he's going to back down, but the backing down part of Dylan has always been the part he hides deepest. Fine, he says, like he's doing her a favor. He shoots me a look that's supposed to look confident, but there's something brittle in it. Good, because I kept everything. Dr. Qley's office is 1 floor down. The elevator feels too slow, the air too warm. Dylan stands too close, his knee bouncing, and I can smell his aftershave like an unwanted memory. My hands won't stop shaking, so I squeeze them together until my fingers ache. Dr. Qley doesn't talk during the elevator ride. She doesn't need to. She has that controlled, neutral face she uses when students are spiraling in her office hours and she's trying to pull them back to the facts. I've seen it. I've been grateful for it. I've never been on the wrong side of it until now. In her office, she gestures for Dylan to sit. He doesn't. He hovers by the bookshelf like he might bolt. I sit because I'm afraid if I don't, I'll collapse. Dr. Qley opens her laptop with the same steady motions she uses when she's about to dissect a draft. She turns it slightly, so we can all see. Start from the beginning, she says to Dylan. What exactly are you alleging? Dylan crosses his arms. I helped her with the thesis, he says. Dr. Klein's eyebrows lift a fraction. Helped, she repeats. Dylan's jaw tightens. I wrote it, he corrects, louder. Dr. Klein nods once, like she's filed that away. Okay, tell me how. Specifically, when did you write it? What platform did you use? Where are the files? Dylan looks toward me like he wants to make sure I'm watching him. I did a lot of it on my laptop, he says. I sent her chunks. I gave her the structure, the analysis. She just polished it. I feel heat rise up my neck. That's not true, I say, and my voice shakes. You didn't even know what my topic was until... Stop, Dylan says, palm up, like I'm interrupting him in his own story. Dr. Klein doesn't look at him. She looks at me. Don't argue with him, she says gently. We're not here to debate. We're here to verify. And she turns back to Dylan. What is the title of her thesis? Dylan hesitates. It's tiny, but it's there. It's about remote work and productivity, he says, then adds quickly, and organizational outcomes. I stare at him. My thesis is about post-pandemic remote work structures and burnout markers in mid-level healthcare administration. It is not productivity in the vague influencer sense Dylan likes to talk about on LinkedIn. Dr. Klein doesn't react outwardly, but I see her eyes flick to the printed copy of my abstract on her desk. Okay, she says, voice still even. Now tell me what model she used for the primary analysis. Dylan's mouth opens. He blinks. It's the standard one, he says, then tries to recover. It's the one you always use. I feel something inside me shift. Not relief, exactly, but the smallest crack of disbelief, like he really did this. He walked in here with nothing but his own confidence. Dr. Klein folds her hands. Dylan, I'm going to be very clear, she says. Accusing someone of misconduct is serious. If you're wrong, there are consequences. So I need you to stop improvising and show me what you have. Dylan's face reddens. I have messages, he says. He pulls out his phone and starts tapping aggressively. I have proof. I helped her, and she acted like she did alone. She's always done that. Dr. Klein nods toward her laptop. Before we look at your phone, I'm going to show you something, she says, and she turns her screen fully toward us. I keep records. For every student, every meeting, every draft, every piece of feedback. She clicks into a folder. I recognize it immediately. My name, my student ID, the endless breadcrumb trail of my last 2 years. Dylan scoffs, but sounds forced. That doesn't prove. Dr. Klein raises a finger, not shushing him, just pausing him. This is the drafting history of your sister's thesis. She wrote it in Google Docs, which preserves version history. She also submitted each chapter to our internal system as part of Milestones, which logs timestamps and original uploads. She clicks again. A timeline appears. My first messy outline, the early literature map, the chapter drafts with my name and dates attached like a spine. Dr. Klein scrolls. See these? She says, pointing. Draft 1, Draft 2, Draft 3. Each one includes track changes from me and responses from her. You can see exactly when she wrote sections, moved paragraphs, rephrased, inserted citations. You can see her writing style evolving, her arguments tightening. She pauses on a highlighted section. Here she is struggling with her methodology phrasing. And here are my comments, and here is her revision. Dylan leans forward despite himself. His face changes in small increments. His mouth parts, then closes. He looks at the screen like it's a magic trick, and he's trying to find the hidden wire. And Dr. Klein continues, because she used Zotero and Overleaf for final formatting, the exported files also have metadata and compilation logs. We can cross-reference them with her raw notes, which I also have. She reaches to her left and pulls a thick folder off the shelf. My folder, the one I've watched her add to after every meeting. She opens it to a page covered in my handwriting. Messy arrows, underlined phrases, little panic question marks. These are her meeting notes from March, she says. Here are the notes from April. Here are her interview transcripts. Here are her coding sheets. Dylan's eyes flick to me for the first time with something like panic. That could be she could have. Stop, Dr. Klein says, sharper now. This is not something you can fake retroactively in a way that aligns across independent systems. She taps the laptop again. Here's an email from her to me at 2:14 a.m. on a Tuesday, asking about a statistical assumption. Here's my reply the next morning. Here's her follow-up. Here are the subsequent revisions reflecting that exchange. She looks directly at Dylan. So, I'm going to ask you again, what do you have? Dylan stands there, mouth working like he's chewing air. He starts, and then he tries to smile, but his lips don't cooperate. She asked me some questions, he says quieter. I helped her understand some stuff. That is not the same as writing her thesis, Dr. Qley says. Dylan's voice rises again, defensive. I explained things. I gave her ideas. She wouldn't have. I'm going to cut in, Dr. Qley says, and for the first time her calm sounds like steel. If you want to claim you contributed intellectually, we can discuss what that means in an ethical sense, but you did not write this thesis. The drafting trail is extensive. The timestamps are consistent. The writing voice is consistent. Your sister has been meeting with me for 2 years. You have not been involved. My throat tightens, so suddenly I have to swallow hard. The relief is real, but it's tangled up with something uglier. Humiliation, rage, grief. Because it's not just that Dylan tried to take credit. It's that he tried to take it at the exact moment I was supposed to finally breathe. He picked the one day I couldn't afford drama. Dylan's eyes dart around the office like he wants an exit. So you're just going to believe her, he snaps, grabbing at the only thing he has left. Offense. I'm believing evidence, Dr. Qley replies. Now, you disrupted a scheduled defense with a baseless accusation. I'm obligated to report this incident to the department chair because it involves an allegation of misconduct. She doesn't sound angry. That's what makes it so heavy. And you will not attend the defense. Dylan's face drops. What? You heard me, Dr. Qley says. You will leave now. If you want to continue this conversation, you can do it through proper channels. But you do not get to jeopardize her academic process. Dylan looks at me then, and the look isn't remorse. It's blame. Like I'm the one who made him look foolish by not letting his story be true. It was a Tuesday night, months before any of this, when Dylan first started orbiting my thesis like it was his. I remember because I just gotten home from campus, my brain fried from reading dense articles all day, and I was standing in my kitchen eating cereal out of the box like an animal. Dylan called and launched into one of his usual monologues about how he was thinking of doing a master's and how writing is easy if you know what you're doing, and how he could totally help me if I wanted. I remember laughing, actually laughing, because it sounded like a joke. He hadn't written anything longer than a Facebook rant in years. But then he said, casually, "So what are you even doing yours on? Like, what's the angle?" I explained because at the time I still wanted us to be normal siblings. I told him about my interviews, about burnout indicators, about remote work structures. He made interested noises and then said, "You should mention productivity because people love that." I said, "That's not my focus." He said, "Yeah, but it gets clicks." Clicks. Like my thesis was content. That's Dylan in a nutshell. He's always been convinced the world is a stage and he deserves a microphone. Growing up, he was the kid who could charm adults into thinking he was deep while he did nothing and still got praise for his potential. I was the kid who actually did the work. I got good grades, kept my head down, learned how to be self-sufficient because no one was going to clap for me. My parents didn't mean to create that dynamic, but they did. Dylan was loud and needy, so he got attention. I was quiet and competent, so I got assigned responsibility. By the time we were adults, it was baked in. Dylan would float between jobs, always leaving because someone didn't recognize his talent. I worked. I saved. I went back to school while working full-time because I wanted something stable and meaningful. Dylan always acted supportive in public. My sister's the smart one. But it had this edge to it, like he was both complimenting me and putting me in a box. When I started the thesis, he got weirdly interested at first, in this performative way. He'd ask for updates at family dinners, then turn those updates into a story about how he was basically helping her with research, which made my mother beam like Dylan was finally being productive. I didn't correct it because it was exhausting, and because part of me thought, fine, Let him have the illusion if it keeps the peace. That was my mistake. The first time he actually crossed a line was small. I sent him a screenshot of a graph I was excited about. Nothing proprietary, just an early visualization of patterns from my pilot data. He responded with, "Nice. I could have done that in Excel." Then, a week later, I saw him post a LinkedIn update about helping a graduate research project analyze remote work performance data. He didn't name me, but it was obviously me, and he phrased it like he was a collaborator. People commented, congratulating him. My stomach turned over in that specific way it does when someone takes your name off your work. I called him. "Why did you post that?" He laughed like I was being uptight. "Relax," he said. "It's not like I said it was mine." "You made it sound like you're involved," I said. "I am involved," he replied, and there was this confidence in his voice that made my skin prickle. "I'm your brother. I am helping." "You're not helping," I said. "You're using it." His tone cooled. "Wow. Okay," he said. "So you don't want me to be proud of you?" That's Dylan's specialty. He takes a boundary and turns it into an insult. I let it go again. Another mistake. The thesis process itself was brutal in a way people don't really understand unless they've done it. It wasn't just writing. It was constant doubt, constant feedback, constant rewriting. It was me sitting at my desk at midnight, staring at a paragraph until the words stopped making sense. It was me waking up early to transcribe interviews before work. It was me turning down social events because I had to code transcripts. It was me emailing DR. Client questions that felt stupid because I couldn't afford to get something wrong. It was my laptop fan whining like it was also stressed. I worked for that thesis in a way that felt physical, like it lived in my shoulders and my jaw. So when Dylan started speaking about it, like it was something he contributed to by existing nearby, it felt like he was taking bites out of something I'd grown inside myself. About 3 months before my defense, my parents hosted a dinner for my dad's birthday. Dylan showed up late, loud, and already irritated about something. We were eating cake when someone asked me how the thesis was going, and I started talking about being nervous about the defense. Dylan cut in, smiling too big. "She'll be fine," he said. "I basically wrote half of it anyway." Everyone laughed like it was a joke. I didn't. I put my fork down. "You didn't write any of it," I said as evenly as I could. The room went quiet in that awkward way family rooms get when you stop playing along. Dylan's smile stayed in place, but his eyes hardened. "I'm kidding," he said, but his voice was sharp. "It's not funny," I said. My mom looked at me like I'd ruined the mood. "Oh, honey," she said, soft like I was being sensitive. "He's just teasing." Dylan leaned back in his chair. "Jesus," he muttered. "Can't say anything around you." That's when I saw it, really. It wasn't just teasing. It was a claim. It was him testing whether he could rewrite reality while everyone smiled. After that dinner, he started texting me more. Not supportive texts. Probing ones. "What's your main argument again? What are you saying in your conclusion? How are you defending the limitations?" If I didn't respond quickly, he'd send something like, "Guess you're too busy," or "Never mind, I'll figure out." Figure out. Like he needed the information for himself. A week before my defense, he sent a message that made my chest tighten. "Can you send me the final draft? I want to make sure it's good." I stared at it for a full minute. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, and I could feel that old family reflex trying to kick in. Keep the peace. Don't create conflict, just comply. Then I thought about him saying he wrote half of it. I thought about his LinkedIn post. I thought about his hungry, possessive interest. And I typed, "No, my committee has it." He responded instantly. "Wow." Then, "I was just trying to help." Then, "Whatever. Do it alone, like you always do." That one hit in a weird place because it was designed to. He knew I carried the reliable one, identity, like a weight. He knew how to twist it so my boundary looked like arrogance. I didn't reply. And then, apparently, he decided if he couldn't get access, he'd take it anyway by blowing everything up. After Dr. Qley told him he wouldn't attend the defense, Dylan's face did this slow collapse from anger to something like fear. "You're banning me?" he said, like he was being oppressed. "I'm removing a disruption," Dr. Qley replied. She stood, opening her office door. "Please leave." Dylan hesitated, and for a second, I thought he might apologize. I actually did. My brain is stupidly hopeful like that. Instead, he looked at me and said, "You're going to regret this." I let out a sound that wasn't quite a laugh. "Regret what?" I asked. "Not letting you take credit for my work." His eyes narrowed, and then he walked out, shoulders stiff. As soon as the door shut behind him, I realized my hands were trembling so hard I couldn't hold the clicker properly. Dr. Qley turned to me. "Are you okay to proceed?" she asked. I nodded too fast. "Yes," I said, even though my stomach felt like it was full of stones. She watched me for a second, then softened. "You don't have to pretend this didn't rattle you," she said. "But you also don't have to carry his behavior into that room. You wrote this thesis. You know it. I know it. The committee knows it. That's what matters." My throat burned. I blinked hard. "I'm sorry," I said automatically, because apologizing is my default language when something goes wrong near me. Dr. Qley shook her head. "Don't apologize," she said. "This isn't yours to be sorry for." We walked back upstairs, and the hallway felt different, like it remembered what Dylan tried to do. My heart was still sprinting in my chest. I could feel the heat under my skin. When we reached the seminar room, Dr. Qley opened the door first. The committee members looked up. Dr. Hernandez asked, "Everything okay?" Dr. Qley didn't hesitate. "There was interruption," she said, "but it's resolved. We're starting now." I sat down at the front, opened my laptop, and looked at my first slide. My hands were steady enough to click forward. My voice, when I started speaking, was steady too, in that strange way your body sometimes performs for you when you don't have the option to fall apart. I got through it. I don't know how. I spoke about my research questions, my participant pool, my thematic coding framework. I answered questions. I explained decisions. I admitted limitations. At one point, Dr. Hernandez asked about my choice to exclude a subset of interviews due to incomplete data, and I heard Dylan's voice in my head. "She won't even know what she wrote." And something in me hardened. I answered calmly, clearly, with the exact reasoning I'd spent weeks refining. I watched Dr. Hernandez nod. I watched Dr. Klein's tiny smile. I felt the room shift from skepticism to respect. When they asked me to step outside while they deliberated, my legs finally started shaking again. I stood in the hallway alone, staring at the beige carpet pattern, trying to keep my breathing normal. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't need to look to know who it was. I did anyway. "Dylan, you're welcome." My vision blurred with heat. I typed, then deleted, then typed again. Finally, I wrote, "Do not contact me today." He replied, "Sensitive." I put my phone on silent and shoved it in my bag like it was contaminated. 10 minutes later, the door opened and Dr. Qley stepped out first, smiling. "Congratulations," she said. "You passed." The relief hit so hard my knees almost buckled. I laughed, but it came out as this weird choke sound. Dr. Hernandez shook my hand. Dr. Patel said, "Strong work." Dr. Qley squeezed my shoulder briefly, professional but warm. The moment was real, meaning, untouchable. And yet, as soon as the adrenaline dropped, I felt grief too, because I knew what would happen next. Dylan would tell our parents his version. My mom would want everyone to move on. My dad would say it's not worth fighting. And I would be expected, somehow, to smooth it over because I'm the one who always keeps things from getting messy. That afternoon, my mom called. I didn't answer. She texted, "Call me. Your brother is upset." Of course he was. I drove home on autopilot, the sunset too bright, my head full of everything at once. I should have been celebrating. I should have been floating. Instead, I felt like I just won a race while someone tried to trip me at the finish line, and now everyone wanted me to apologize for making them look bad. 2 days later, my parents insisted on a family talk. I went because part of me still believed in the fantasy that if I explained myself clearly enough, they'd finally see the pattern. We sat in their living room. Dylan was there, sprawled on the couch like he belonged there more than anyone. My mom had that anxious, overly bright expression she gets when she's trying to force peace. "We're all just stressed," she started. "We need to forgive and move forward." I looked at Dylan. "Do you want to apologize?" I asked. He didn't even blink. "For what?" he said. My dad frowned at me. He was just worried, he said. He felt left out. You two used to be close. I stared at him. He accused me of academic fraud minutes before my defense. I said, slow, because I wanted the words to land. He tried to sabotage 2 years of my work. Dylan's mouth twisted. I didn't sabotage, he said. I was making a point. What point? I asked. My voice was calm, but my hands were tight in my lap. That you need attention, even if it costs me? My mom flinched. Okay, she said quickly. Let's not attack. I laughed once, bitter and short. Attack. I repeated. He attacked me. Publicly. And you're asking me to be gentle. Dylan rolled his eyes. Dr. Qley embarrassed me, he said, like that was the real crime. She acted like I was some liar. You were, I said. My dad's voice sharpened. Watch your tone, he said. Something in me went very still. No, I said. I'm not doing this. My mom's eyes widened, the way they always do when I stop playing my role. I'm not going to be lectured about my tone while Dylan gets to rewrite reality. My mom put a hand to her chest like she was hurt. We just want peace, she said. I want peace too, I replied, which is why I'm setting a boundary. Dylan is not part of my life if he keeps doing this. Dylan snorted. You need me, he said, casually cruel. I looked him straight in the face. No, I said. I don't. My mom's voice went soft, coaxing. Sweetheart, she said, he's your brother. And I'm your daughter, I said. And I just accomplished something huge, and instead of celebrating me, you're managing his feelings about it. My dad opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked tired. My mom's eyes filled, but I couldn't tell if it was sadness or frustration at losing control of the narrative. Dylan stared at me like I was a stranger. In the weeks that followed, the department chair emailed me for a brief statement about the incident. I wrote it plainly. Dylan made a false accusation. Dr. Qley presented documentation. Dylan was removed. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't need to. Facts were enough. Dylan tried to spin it online anyway. He posted some vague status about being betrayed by family, and truth always comes out. A few cousins messaged me asking what happened. I told them the truth, short and simple. A couple of them left Dylan on read and later quietly congratulated me again. At home, I changed too. Not in some grand movie scene way. In smaller, more permanent ways. I stopped sharing details of my life with Dylan. Then I stopped responding at all. When my mom tried to guilt me, he misses you, I said. I miss having a brother who didn't try to ruin me. When my dad tried to downplay it, he didn't mean it. I said, impact matters more than intent. The weirdest part is that once I stopped making myself available to absorb the fallout, my parents had to face Dylan without me acting as buffer. And they didn't like it. Dylan's moods got louder. His jokes got sharper. He started picking at them the way he used to pick at me. Suddenly, the household tension wasn't something I came over to fix. It was theirs. 3 months after I passed, I attended my graduation. I wore the stupid cap that never fits right, and I took photos with my friends and Dr. Qley. My parents came. Dylan did not. My mom kept glancing at the empty spot, like it was my responsibility to fill it. When my name was called, I walked across that stage and felt something unclench in my chest that I didn't realize had been tight for years. Not because of the degree alone, but because I defended my work in more ways than one. I defended my right to be the author of my own life. After, my mom tried again. Maybe you should reach out, she said, soft, as if she was offering me something kind. He's had a hard time. I looked at her, the crowd, noise swelling around us, the smell of flowers and cheap champagne in the air. He made my hard time on purpose, I said. I'm done cushioning him. My dad stood beside her, quiet. His eyes were on the ground. He didn't argue this time. I know how the story sounds, like it's just about a thesis. But it's not. It's about a lifetime of Dylan taking and me being expected to give. It's about my family treating my calm competence like a resource they can allocate. It's about the way people call you too sensitive when you finally stop tolerating disrespect. Sometimes I still feel that tug, the old guilt, the old reflex to smooth it over. Then I remember the hallway outside the seminar room. I remember Dylan's finger pointed at me, his voice declaring ownership over something he didn't earn. I remember Dr. Qley's screen lit up with 2 years of timestamps and drafts, my midnight emails, my scribbled notes. Proof of my work. Proof of my effort. proof that I exist beyond my family's version of me. And I hold on to that. Because if I learned anything from this, it's that people like Dylan count on you doubting yourself. They count on you being polite. They count on you being so focused on keeping peace that you'll hand them credit just to avoid conflict. I'm not doing that anymore.